Have you ever noticed how money feels less like a tool and more like a cage? You work hard, you follow the rules, you save, invest, and plan, and still, somehow, it never feels like freedom. It feels like something you can't escape from. Every choice carries weight. Every bill, every unexpected expense, every tiny shift in your budget reminds you that there is a limit to how far you can go. And the strangest part, you did everything you were supposed to do. That feeling isn't imagined. It's real. And it's not about luck or laziness. It's about the system we operate in, the invisible rules we inherited, and the way our lives are structured. Money used to be something that expanded possibilities. Now, for most Americans, it's something that defines boundaries, highlights scarcity, and enforces constant vigilance. Think about a typical month. You get paid. A portion goes to rent or mortgage. Another chunk goes to utilities, groceries, insurance. The rest is split between debts, savings, and maybe a little discretionary spending. You check the balance, and there's a momentary relief. And then the next bill comes, or the unexpected repair, or the sudden medical expense, and that relief evaporates instantly. The feeling is subtle at first, but over time, it accumulates, slowly, almost invisibly. Money starts to feel like a trap rather than a tool. And here's what most people don't realize. The trap isn't created by your spending habits alone. It's created by the way the system interacts with your habits. Wages haven't kept pace with costs for decades. Healthcare, housing, education, they rise faster than most people can adjust. Savings, even disciplined savings, lose purchasing power over time. Investments carry risk, and the safety nets people relied on in previous generations are weaker or more conditional than ever. You aren't failing because of your choices. You're failing because the environment punishes even careful, responsible behavior. That's the invisible trap, the one that makes you question your own judgment. Even when you're doing everything right, the trap where effort no longer equals progress, where discipline is necessary but insufficient, where the rules you were taught work hard, save, play it safe feel like a treadmill. You move, you expend energy, but you don't arrive anywhere. And the longer you stay on that treadmill, the more trapped you feel. It's also emotional. You feel tied to obligations. You feel accountable for things that weren't fully your choice, like high rent, student loans, or rising insurance costs. You might even feel trapped by success, because advancement increases expectations and pressures, instead of easing them. And when the emotional burden mixes with financial reality, it creates a constant background tension. That tension is exhausting. It's why so many people say they're tired of money even though they have a steady income. And here's the key insight that changes everything. Money only feels like a trap when your margin is too thin. Margin isn't a fancy financial term, it's simply the space to breathe, to make decisions without immediate consequence, to absorb shocks. If your margin is thin, every choice carries weight. Every small mistake or unexpected cost feels catastrophic, and over time, the constant vigilance becomes your new normal. You don't even remember a time when money felt like freedom, because you've been inside the trap for so long that it's just life. Most advice, unfortunately, misses this entirely. People are told to budget, save more, work harder, invest smarter. But advice like that assumes margin exists already. It assumes you can take action without stress dominating every move. And when you apply it without having margin, it only increases the pressure. You work harder, save more, delay more, and the trap feels tighter, not looser. Understanding why money feels like a trap is not about blame. It's about clarity. It's about recognizing the system, the invisible pressures, and the way your life structure interacts with money. Once you see it, you can start making changes that don't rely on luck or fantasy, but on realignment and small, deliberate shifts that gradually expand your margin, reduce stress, and let money serve you instead of controlling you. The next question is obvious. How do you get out of it, or at least loosen the grip? And the answer isn't complicated. But it's uncomfortable because it requires confronting the reality most people avoid. The first step is acknowledging your margin or lack of it honestly. Not the hypothetical margin you imagine if you had a raise or won the lottery, but the real margin you have today. How much breathing room do you actually have before the next bill, the next car repair, or the next unexpected expense consumes you? When you do this, two things become immediately clear. 1. There is more pressure on your life than you realized because you've been conditioned to normalize stress. 2. The first victories come not from earning more or cutting spending drastically, but from reclaiming small, practical space. This could mean delaying certain obligations where possible, consolidating recurring costs, or even negotiating terms that reduce immediate strain. Every little bit of margin you create is like stepping back from the edge. It doesn't solve everything overnight, but it changes the dynamics fundamentally. The weight of money feels slightly lighter because you have space to react, to plan, and to breathe. Another key shift is mindset. Not the fluffy think positive mindset, but a clear-eyed recognition that you are operating in a system designed to squeeze people who follow the rules. Once you stop blaming yourself for feeling trapped, you can stop fighting imaginary battles. You stop equating your worth with the size of your paycheck or the steadiness of your budget. You start seeing money as a tool again, not a verdict on your life choices, but a set of levers you can manipulate slowly, deliberately, to create relief and options. And options are freedom, because when margin exists, you're no longer at the mercy of every unexpected cost. You make decisions instead of being forced into them. But let's be honest, creating margin is hard. It's slow. It feels frustrating because the systems you rely on are rigid, and small gains can feel insignificant compared to the weight of the trap. That's why most people give up. Before they notice real progress, they see a minor reduction in bills or a slight improvement in cash flow and dismiss it as too small. Don't small shifts compound. A single habit, a tiny adjustment to spending, an extra buffer of $50 or $100 can over weeks and months transform your relationship with money. It's not glamorous, it's not fast, but it's real. And it's far more powerful than chasing the next paycheck or a high-risk investment scheme. It's also crucial to protect yourself emotionally. Margin isn't just financial, it's psychological. You need space to detach from the constant what-ifs that make money feel like a trap. This might mean setting up small automatic savings so you don't have to think about every expense constantly, or creating routines that reduce friction and decision fatigue. The goal is to reduce the cognitive load so money doesn't dominate every thought. When your mind can rest, your choices become clearer. You can respond instead of react. You can plan instead of panic, and slowly, the feeling of being trapped begins to lift. Now, here's where most conversations about money fail. People focus on scarcity. You need more income. You need better investments. But that's a reactive approach. You're trying to escape a trap by sprinting faster inside it. The proactive approach is to expand margin first, to make room to think, to make room to recover, to make room to act deliberately. Once that space exists, other solutions, new income streams, smarter investments, lifestyle adjustments work because you're operating from a position of choice, not desperation. That's the turning point. That's when money stops feeling like a cage and starts feeling like a tool again. This is not a one-time fix. Margin must be maintained. Life will test it with unexpected costs, economic changes, emergencies, and opportunities. But every time you rebuild margin after a disruption, you gain resilience. You gain confidence. You no longer live under the illusion that effort equals control. You start to understand the real currency of freedom, space, time, options, margin. That is what changes the relationship with money from trapped to empowered. And that is what turns the invisible weight into something manageable, something that serves you instead of controlling you.